Okay, so sorry about that. I'll wait for everybody to get back in here. Uh, don't know what's going on with my internet right now uh, because it's frozen again. Hey Jay,
Yeah.
do you see my feed? Because right now it is frozen again. Huh.
Yeah. I can hear you.
Let's see. Sorry, it's frozen again. I know that everyone can hear me, but I know that you also can't see me, and I also can't see the chat. So, okay. So Teresa, you can hear me. Okay, maybe it's back up now. Hopefully, uh,
There you go.
I don't know if the children are maybe on a hotspot right now and using up all of my bandwidth. It's not on my phone, but it could be on my husband's phone. So hopefully he'll get that taken care of and turn off the hotspot if we have one on. So, all right, Darlene. Oh, yay, you can see me now. So sorry about that, you guys. You know, technology. Sometimes it's one of those things. Okay, so I think everybody's back in here. Hey, Enid. So, where was I? I think I talked about the Facebook group and the book. And so, emotional eating. Uh, the thing about emotional eating is I did not realize when I was overweight that I was truly such an emotional eater. I really thought, oh, hey, Christina. I really thought that every time I was eating, I thought it was because I was hungry. Like, it was so baffling to me. It was like, I only eat when I get hungry. And so, why am I gaining weight? You know, I really thought it was unfair. But intermittent fasting really showed me how often I was emotionally eating. Hey there, Michael. So here's how that looked like for me. So, and I did, my fasting window really, really slowly. Thank you, Darlene. Um, I did my fasting window really, really slowly. I pushed it out very, very slowly. And so the fasting never really felt hard to me. Makes sense because I was going so gradually. But what I started to notice was there were times where I would get hungry kind of out of the blue. So this is more difficult if you are doing intermittent fasting and you're just like if you just kind of plunge into it, and you really may think that you are hungry. But I would say also try to kind of delve into your emotions and see if perhaps you are stressed or just bored or whatever. Hey, Sherry and Hyatt and Melanie. Sorry, I think it froze again. Oh, geez. But hopefully you can still hear me. Uh, so the thing though is, so if you're jumping in like that, you may find that you really can't tell, is this really hungry or is this stress or whatever. And a lot of times what I found was it was stress because I really was used to the fasting window, but I just wasn't used to not eating when I was when I was stressed out. So that can be a tricky thing. So sometimes it may seem like, oh, I'm so hungry during my fasting window. Um, but it really could just be stress. And because that is something that I really struggled with a lot. Um, uh, yeah, yeah, it's Teresa, you said it's like you feel like you have to eat. Um, and so here's one way that I well, and really, I didn't even mean to do it this way, but it did help. The first thing that I did was I would tell myself, okay, if you're still hungry in 30 minutes, you can go ahead and eat. Um, and that was something that kind of it made me wait, you know. And while I was waiting, usually I got busy, which is actually a really good cure for stress. If you just get busy taking action, doing something. So many times stress is just because you're not taking action on something. But especially when I went to one meal a day, then there's a huge chunk of time where if you're feeling stressed, then you're going to have to figure out other ways. If you're going to stick to the thing, that's the thing. Like, I was dead set on being very consistent. Like, I'm not going to eat right now. And you really have to be, like, make up your mind and be really I'm not going to eat right now. I can survive until supper. So what's bothering you? And so some things that happened with that was, one, I had to realize, like, well, just taking a walk, just going out, getting my steps in, it kind of cleared my head, and it helped me to deal with my stress. Talking to my husband, talking that out, a hard one for me. He's a very good listener, but sometimes I'm not a very good talker. Like, if I'm stressed, I just kind of like tend to just want to think it through. But that can be a bad thing sometimes. Like, it's good to think it through, but then sometimes you can bottle stuff up. So learning how to do anything besides eat, right, is really the key. Like, you got to say, okay, I'm not going to eat right now. Like, you really have to just say, I think I'm not eating right now. Make up your mind on that, and then say, but I am going to deal with the stress. Because you can't, I mean, I guess you could just sit there and not eat and then, just not deal with your stress either, but you really have to deal with the stress. Let's see. So, and then also, and I think somebody mentioned this. Ah, man, it froze again, but hopefully you can still hear me. What somebody mentioned, I think I saw it scroll about positive emotions and eating because of that. And I think that is another thing. It's not just negative emotions that we can like kind of like eat our feelings. Certainly, like, just celebrations and stuff, we can tend to eat a lot. What I found with that was, a lot of times, like, if I was at an event, some sort of thing with family, even though I love my family, I get pretty stressed out in big groups. Like, I'm an introvert. Even though it was like a celebration, I was eating because I was stressed. And so I've had to learn how to kind of just know that about myself. And just kind of realizing it about yourself is a lot of the battle, I think. Understanding, you have a tendency to stress eat, because I do. Like, I mean, I don't anymore. I don't stress eat anymore. But it has been a long process. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and look at some of the questions. Let's see. Because it's frozen again. I hope everyone can still hear me. Let's see. Yeah, so Teresa, you have to eat, instead of OMAD. So, yeah, and that is, I think, it really is hard. And it's a part of it is just, I think, stubbornness, and really just saying, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to emotionally. I have to make a decision to do something else, anything else. Anything. Yeah. And so, Christina, so sometimes, if you're happy and you celebrate, and so that's another thing too, like, like, if it was my birthday and I would have cake, right? It would be like, oh, it's like, yay, it's my birthday and I'm going to have cake. And then what I've learned to do is to realize, like, just focus on, am I enjoying this? Like, as I'm actually eating it, did I enjoy that last bite, or am I really getting full? And it takes slowing down, which I'm I'm not a very slow eater. I tend to eat pretty fast, but I've made a conscious decision to just slow down and focus on my eating. And that's another thing, mindless eating. Because, so, one thing I've noticed is, when I stress eat, I overeat also. It's like it goes hand in hand. Like, there's not just like stress eating and it's just like, bite. Well, I mean, sometimes it can be a bite here, bite there. But generally speaking, if I was really stressed, I would really eat until I was just absolutely miserable. But mindless eating is kind of different, because, like, if you're sitting there watching TV, you're just eating. A lot of times you can end up way over full, and it's just because you're not focusing. So again, if you turn off the TV, or like, just don't watch TV while you're eating. We like, I do it like maybe once a week. On date night, usually we're watching a movie and I'll eat, but as a general rule, I sit down to the table, focus on the food. And that is something, I mean, it is kind of funny to me, because if I say to myself, like, ooh, I want a snack, I say to myself, well, okay, you can eat the snack, but you can't have it in front of the TV. Like, you have to sit down at the table and you have to eat it. Like, I usually don't want it anymore. Sometimes I do, but, it's just kind of an interesting thing. Enid, I'm sorry that you've got all those struggles going on. Let's see, Melanie, love intermittent fasting. You've worked up to 21 hours. Wow. So in 5 months, you've reversed your diabetes. You're off all of your medicine and you've lost 20 pounds. That is awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Congratulations. That is fantastic. Wow. That is so motivating to me to hear people are actually reversing diabetes with this. I mean, it's really amazing. Really amazing. Okay, that's great. Man, that's so awesome. Let's see. Hey, Valerie, glad you got to see me live. Let's see. So, Enid, you're getting a biometric screening, and oh yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. You'll have to tell me what that is because I really don't know. But I hope it goes well for you. Let's see. Yeah, and that's an interesting thing too. I think some people like with different kinds of food, right? You just can't eat a whole lot of it, but then other people can. Like I mean, certainly like I could do that with cake, although less so now. Like nowadays, like really sugary things, they just don't have that power over me they used to. Like I used to just have no stopping power at all. But now it's just like, I'll stop. I'll just eat, whatever I want of it and then I'll stop. But now like chips, chips are easier to just sit there and continue to, pop one after the other after the other. And I think that's really good that you're a slow eater, like I'm just not, I never like when I was a kid, I was always like just shoveling in the food. Yes. Oh, yes, Jada. So good point about the inner dialogue thing. Really changing how you're and checking in, like constantly checking in with yourself while you're eating. And I know that's like kind of cumbersome in the beginning. But if you just sit there and really ask yourself as you're eating, like, am I still enjoying this? Like, am I really still hungry? Am I in a hurry right now? Am I actually hungry? Or is this like, I'm stressed and I just want to do something about it. I just want to put food in my mouth. So, yeah, and just being positive, and that was another thing. So like after you've had a meal, and this is one thing that was really helpful to me when I went to OMAD, because it felt like once I went to OMAD, that was like a shift in just, I had a little bit of trouble there to try to tell like, okay, at what point am I full versus when am I over full, and then trying to figure out like why did I overeat or eat too much. And I think you've got to kind of constantly check in with yourself and just say, okay, I just ate, how do I feel right now? Do I feel full? Do I feel like I didn't eat enough? Do I feel like I ate too much? And if the answer is, I ate too much, don't beat yourself up. Like, just don't. Like, it doesn't do any bit of good. Just say, like if you overate, then you can say, well, okay, so you overate, like what happened? Are you feeling stressed right now? Are you feeling like were you just in a hurry? Because sometimes that can happen. You're just in a hurry. And then just say, okay, at the next meal, I'm going to try to do a little bit better. I'm going to try to, maybe eat a little slower, just a little bit, or maybe I'm just going to eat at the same pace, but maybe stop, like after a plate and then wait a bit, like wait like 5 minutes or something and see if I'm really hungry. One thing that helped me too with OMAD was to, after I had like a plate full of food, I would stand up from the table and I would just kind of walk around for a minute or two, and I would ask myself like, am I still hungry? And a lot of times, like just the act of standing up, I was like, oh, I'm actually really full right now. And then other times I would realize, like, no, I'm actually really still hungry, and I would allow myself to sit down and eat some more. But it's all about not beating yourself up and just saying, small improvement, just gonna make a little tiny improvement today in my eating. Let's see. Yeah, it's not a simple task, Jada. It's like one of those things. It's a slow, gradual process over time. And it's like, especially if you've been mean to yourself in your head for a really long time, like expect it to take a long time for it to, to become a well ingrained habit of being nice to yourself, thinking positively, and talking nice to yourself. Michael, I lost 5 pounds, so now I can have a donut as a reward or an entitlement. This could be this can be a wrong idea. That was definitely something that I guarded really, really strongly against. For me, again, I do not disallow myself any food. So I can always have donuts. I mean, through this whole process, I've allowed myself all the food: donuts, cake, muffins, pies, enter whatever bad food you want. And I've continued to tell myself nothing is forbidden, because I really never, ever, ever want to reward myself with, oh, well, hey, you lost 5 more pounds, let's go get a pint of Ben and Jerry's. Like, instead, just eat the Ben and Jerry's and lose weight while eating foods like that. That has been my thing, because then it's like, when you start to use food as a reward, that can be psychologically a really strong thing that can start to happen. Like, you can get really motivated by food, I think, and then it kind of screws up the relationship, because you're not just eating just because you are hungry and you need to eat, but you're eating because you're rewarding yourself. Gosh, it's frozen again. I'm sorry, you guys. Let's see. Once I was over the 40, the nasty, hateful voice in my head shut up for good. That's so good. If you don't mind, can you share what were some of your strategies? Like, how did you recognize it? Did you read a book or something, or did you just notice it? And then, like, what were some of your strategies, if you don't mind sharing? Okay, so they're going to check glucose, cholesterol, blood sugar, and hey, Sammy, glad you could make it in here. I make an awesome chocolate cake too, Enid. It's called Betty's Chocolate Cake from Ina Garten, the barefoot contestant. Oh my gosh, it's the best cake ever. Although you can make me that cake sometime, maybe, and I'll see which one's better. Let's see, Gil. I'm learning to eat slow. Lost 10 pounds in 3 weeks. Wow, that is really fast. Some of it I know is water, but your body looks better. That's awesome. 20 more pounds to go. Wow, that's not very far at all then. You're going to do great. So you did OMAD the first week, and now you're at a 16.8. Yeah, and I think that's good. It sounds like you're listening to your body. Maybe like OMAD was perhaps a bit too stringent maybe for you. And like, again, I always like to emphasize, I think OMAD is great for certain people. I love it, but I think a lot of people prefer a longer window. So that was something I was going to touch on, is about emotional eating. So emotional eating can certainly happen even in OMAD. Like, it can be a thing where when you get to that one meal, then that's when you're going to do your emotional eating. It helps limit a lot, I think, like, because it's like you have that whole big swath of time where really you're going to have to deal with it. But that's really why I also like the cheat day, because an OMAD kind of limits the damage you can do. I think it would be very very hard to sit there and eat so much at an OMAD that you would actually gain weight. But that's why I like cheat day. That's another big reason, because it's I feel like a real world test. Like, okay, you're giving yourself one day where you're not saying, okay, I'm not going to eat at all today. So then you have to really, it's really, to me, kind of like a test. Like, okay, are you going to stress eat? Are you going to fall back into that pattern? Because I do feel like, for me personally, I am always going to be super vigilant. I'm never going to think I have it completely licked, because I feel like, you just never know. Like, you never know how, circumstances might happen where it'll be like, oh, this is like truly really stressful. So I'm always going to be vigilant for that. And so that's another reason why I love cheat days. So, let's see. Let's see. Ben and Jerry's. Yeah, Ben and Jerry's. Like, Ben and Jerry's is just good. I don't care what anybody says. Susan, I allowed myself to eat some emotional eating last night during the returns, but after a few handfuls of pretzels, I didn't eat anymore. And I think that's good too. Like, that you, first of all, if you just recognize it for what it is, I think it really does make it a lot easier to kind of get over it. It's like, if I eat right now, it's only because I'm emotionally eating. And then you start to realize, like, oh, I really shouldn't. This is not the right reason to eat. So, Uh, let's see. Valerie. Oh, Valley Girl, you're Valerie. Okay, thanks for joining us. So now you're doing 2 meals a day. You're working down to OMAD, 3 down so far. That is awesome. I don't know how long you've been doing that. I wonder how long have you been losing. Hey, Michelle. Oh, I'm sorry. You thought it started at 9 for you. Yeah, and I think I actually put the wrong time, or I don't know if it was the thing with the time change, if it messed something up, but I at 3:25 today. I didn't mean for that to happen. So, but yeah, 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern on Wednesdays. That's always the time. And I'm sorry, it is freezing again. So hopefully you guys can still hear me. Sammy, hi my dear. Can you tell me what count? Can you tell me count like all your steps or? Okay, right. So you're just asking, are all of my steps included in the 14,000 a day? And the answer to that is yes. I count every step I take during the day, whether it's chores or, like just random, like if I go to the store and I get 1,000 or 2,000 steps there, yeah, that counts. It all counts. Like the only thing I've ever cared about is, does my Fitbit say 14,000 steps at the end of the day? If so, I hit my goal. If not, then I did not hit my goal that day. Michelle, okay, so you're on Central Time. And you're, oh, though I didn't realize the Florida Panhandle had Central Time, but yeah. So, hopefully, um, hopefully you guys can still see me. I'm sorry if it's frozen again. I don't know what's up with the internet tonight. So, okay, so if you have questions about intermittent fasting or emotional eating, please drop them in the chat. And also, if you have strategies, like what are some things that you do to prevent yourself from stress eating? Because, like for me, I have certain things I like to do. Like, well, one thing I think really helps with mine in general is I do my morning pages every morning, which if you've never read The Artist's Way, you might not know what I'm talking about, but it's basically 3 pages handwritten of just stream of consciousness. So like you just write whatever's going through your brain, and I found that very helpful. It really shows me where my thinking is, because sometimes you might not be aware of it, or you've got a lot going on, and then to just write it out, just continue to write it out, it has been really, really helpful for me, which helps me to stress less. And a lot of this goes back to stressing less, eliminating the stress, so you're not even having to deal with the emotional side of emotionally eating. Let's see, Valley Girl, you've been at it for 2 months, slow going, but slow and steady. That is exactly right. Yeah, it's look. Let me go back and look and see. So you are, let's see, you're down 3 pounds. Look, I'm telling you, as long as the scale is coming down, just be okay with it. Like, so many people get in such a rush and they want to change everything and want to make it really, really hard on themselves. But just stay. Like, just keep at it. Keep doing it. Like, you're probably gonna, figure out, okay, what's the best window for me? But don't just say, well, it's got to be a really, really short eating window, or else I won't lose weight, or, maybe I'll lose weight a lot faster. I did not find that to be the case for me. I lost about 1 pound a week, whether I was doing shorter fast or longer fast. Like, probably by like 14-hour fast, then 16. 16 was really where I was more like in the beginning of 2016, and I was losing about 1 pound a week. I went to OMAD, lost a little bit more than 1 pound a week, but not by much. So, so do what works for you. Don't be in a rush. When people get in a rush, that's when they like start to like have shiny object syndrome, and they're like, oh well, if this is working, then let me add this and make it really hard, and then you don't end up doing any plans. So, oh, so Enid, so you knit or crochet or cross stitch? I bet that is. I mean, I like to cross stitch, and I bet that does help you just kind of think things through. That kind of like it's almost like meditative, right? Fabian, do you consider having cream in your coffee breaking your fast? I do not. I personally drink my coffee with half and half 3 times a day during my fasting window. And that's just what I do. And Yeah, so I know some people say, like, oh, it breaks your fast. I disagree. Really, for one thing, fasting is more like a state. It's not like an on and off switch. It's more like a spectrum. Like, you're more fasted, and then you're less fasted. You're in a fed state, you're in a fasted state. But it's very hard to, I mean, even a lot of, like, good studies on intermittent fasting in humans simply hasn't been done yet. So it's very hard for people to say with any certainty, like, okay, what exactly breaks a fast? So I wouldn't worry about it, basically. Let's see. Oh, yeah. So, Enid, you're saying, like, do household stores. Yeah. Household chores. Sorry about that. Yeah, and plus that's something that can stress you out, too. Like, if your house is dirty, go clean it up. Let's see, Sammy. Yes, I wear my Fitbit. I don't know if you can see it right now because it's still frozen on my end. But, yeah, yeah. One thing I do, Sammy, nowadays, like, when I was doing it in my house, I used to walk all of my steps in my house. A lot of the time I would break it up throughout the day. Like, I would just kind of get my steps in as I went. But then what I started to do when I became a full-time RVer, I started going usually on, like, one dedicated walk through, like, we walk outside and stuff. But yes, I count every step I get. So, let's see. Whoops. Man, a lot of comments came through. Sorry about that. Yeah, Jada, the morning pages, life-changing for me. Absolutely life-changing. It brought up things for me that I didn't realize. Just, things that maybe you're not satisfied with or that you're really stressed out about and you really don't know until you start really just writing out everything that's going through your head. Because once you see it on paper, there's just a difference between sitting there and thinking about something versus writing it down in black and white. Yeah, it's a great book too. Oh, that's awesome. Well, thank you, Valerie. I'm so glad that you find encouragement here. Hey, Barb, from Illinois. Let's see. Yeah, Enid, I am a jack of all trades, master of none. Like, my cross stitching it leaves a lot to be desired. Okay, Michelle, October has been a tough month for me, but I'm trying to get back on track with my OMAD. I've been really hungry and craving junk food, but I'm determined to just take it a day at a time and not give up. That's such a good attitude to have. Take it one day at a time, be really determined, and just keep your head down, keep doing your plan. And if you get off track, get right back on track. It's so easy to get off track and then just not get back on, just because you beat yourself up. You have to stop beating yourself up if you're prone to do that. I can't remember if you said you were, but my problem was I would, like, have this perfectionist kind of mindset, like, oh, I can't mess up, and if I messed up, then it was like, forget the whole thing. But you have to just say, I'm going to still do this, and I'm just going to keep trucking right along, and I'm going to figure out this whole thing. I'm going to figure out how to get down to the weight that I want to be at. Yeah, so you can't cross stitch with your hands full of food, right? Good point. That's such a good idea, though. Like, keeping your hands busy. Yeah. Like, I learned sign language because and really that worked out really well because I really couldn't sit there and eat. I had to keep my hands busy doing the sign language. So, let's see, YouTube videos, audiobooks while you're doing chores. And cooking relaxes you. I love to cook. That has been, and there was I can't remember who said it now, but I heard it on a thing. It was talking about there's always going to be one ball on the floor. Like, all the balls you're juggling, right? Like, if you're a mom, then you're trying to juggle, being a mom and maybe working or just household stuff and finances and all that stuff and cooking. And then usually there's just a ball on the floor and you have to just accept it and realize, like, they're like, and lately for me, cooking has been my ball on the floor. And so we actually just told my son, like, okay, we will do the dishes because that was his chore before. We will do the dishes if you do the cooking for supper. And he started to do that. And that's been nice because it takes something off of my plate. And it's always a thing. You're going to always have something. Life's never going to be perfect, basically. But I can definitely see how cooking can relax you, because I find that is the case too. Uh, hey, Diana, I'm glad to see you in here. Hey, big man. Yeah, I am a full-time RVer. Yeah, this is. I don't know if anybody can see what's going on here. It's been frozen for quite some time now. I wonder if I hit that and then I say cancel. No, it's still not. So, let's see. Yeah. Thanks for putting that link to the artist way, Jay. So let's see, Valerie. My biggest struggle lately is toward the end of my fasting window. I start to think I'm hungry. I'm not really, but it's like I'm trying to convince yourself that you are. And then you have to talk yourself into waiting. And see, that's another thing too. Is like habit. Old habits die hard, right? Like one thing I continue to remind myself is my whole life I was eating 3 meals a day or more, sometimes 5, 6 times a day. And so, a lifetime of eating like that, it's like an ingrained thing. So you have to just like realize like there's going to be times where you're going to feel, like that habit hunger come back. And it just takes time. Nowadays, like I really don't experience that. Not very often, at least. But it just takes time. I mean, it really, it's just like, it just, you have to just say, I'm going to learn how to fast. And that's another thing. It's really more of a skill. I feel like every day that you fast, you get a little bit better at it. Like now that I've been doing it for 3, 4, let's see, really since 2015, I've been experimenting with it. So, well, actually, the end of 2014. So, that's what, 15, 16, 17, 18, like almost 4 years. Is that right? Wow. Yeah. So it has been a long time of learning how to fast. So it's a skill though. Like nowadays, and I'm curious because I'm going to start trying some longer fast, and it is really, it's interesting to me. I wonder how hard are these longer fasts going to seem? Because I want to try like a 5-day fast. And I wonder, like, how much of a mental change is that like from fasting? Because basically OMAD is almost like a 24-hour fast before you break it. And so I'm just curious to see, like, what is that like? I don't know. Hey, Sherry, thanks for joining us. Yeah, so, oh, thanks, Fabian. And the thing with coffee is, what I always tell people with coffee is like, do whatever, like, my personal philosophy is like, do whatever makes you feel best. Like, just, like, whatever you're wanting, like, however you want your coffee, I say take it that way. Like, when I first started intermittent fasting, I went ahead and had sugar in my coffee, because that's how I like my coffee. And I knew myself well enough to know, like, I probably won't make it through the fasting window if I can't have my coffee the way I like it. And then I was able to slowly wean myself off of the sugar. It just took a while. And I gave myself grace, and I didn't beat myself up because I was having sugar in my window. One thing that was helpful, was helpful at least, I kind of just, once I learned about intermittent fasting, I didn't really care too much what anybody else said what the rules were, and that helped because just to try to like do it on my own, figuring out what worked for me and what didn't, because it can kind of psych you out if everybody's saying like, oh, you can't have any sugar in your coffee at all, and what if the thing that can get you to fast is to do that, and then just slowly wean yourself off. Let's see, Sherry, I'm always worried if I'm getting enough nutrition in 1 hour, even though I'm eating healthy. I mean, the way I look at it is I'm feeling great, and people worldwide live on a huge variety of diets. I mean, some cultures are very much a lot of meat and dairy, and then others are more like vegetarian almost, and others are lots of carbs, just like, noodles and rice. and everybody just kind of thrives and they're okay, and so I'm just not worried about it. Like, I was reading an interesting book called In Defense of Food. I haven't finished it yet, but Michael Pollan. He also wrote, I think, Omnivore's Dilemma. I haven't read that one, but the point is, he did a good job so far in the book about really outlining, like, what is it with America? Like, why is it that we're so focused on like carbs and protein? And like, and if you notice that, like, one is always the bad guy, right? Like, fat is the bad guy, or that's what it used to be. Fat used to be the bad guy, like back in the what 80s, like 80s, 90s, and now it's like carbs are the enemy, and then it just goes in flux. And really, he says like eat more vegetables and not too many meats, I think, but and just don't eat too much. So I'm just not worried about it. Like, I feel like human beings have lived for, you know, how many years, right? And we've survived, and we didn't know like how many carbs and how many calories were in things. So yeah, just don't worry about it. I just kind of eat whatever I'm craving, and as long as I'm feeling good. Now, if I was starting to feel like really horrible all the time, I would probably be like, I don't know. And I do make sure, that I'm not showing any signs of nutritional deficiency. But again, that usually goes back to you're feeling bad, like low energy, or rapid heart rate, stuff like that. So I'm fine, I think. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, gentle iron, interesting. Uh, let's see. I'd say, Sherry, I'd say that your body will tell you when you need to change things up. I wouldn't worry too much about it. Yeah, and I think that's the thing. Like, if you're so worried, like, first of all, if you're worried, then don't do OMAD. Like, I think it's a mistake if you're going to sit there and be worried about it the whole time, then don't do OMAD. Like, the most important thing, I think, is to be able to relax with whatever plan you're on. Like, if you think that OMAD is hurting your body, you're going to be stressed about it, and that can make you hold on to weight too. I think. I mean, that's anecdotal, but I'm just telling you from like a lot of people have told me that. Like, and I've seen it in my own experience too. Like, if you're really stressed out about it all the time, it's like your body just seems like it has a really hard time losing weight. So, Sammy, I'm very upset right now. You see Lucy. Let's see. You see, Lucy, you eat everything, losing weight. I lost 5 pounds in 5 days. Yesterday, I eat full plate of rice and gain all the weight. I'm crying. No, well, Sammy, like, okay, look. First of all, weight fluctuates, okay? Like, it does. Like, by 5 pounds, easily. Easily. I can easily gain 5 pounds overnight. It just recently happened. Not that long ago. I can't remember what date. But it happens. You can't let one random day mess you up. Certainly never cry about it, or be upset with the scale. The scale is a tool. It is not your master. It is a tool, okay? Don't let it ruin your emotion, or run your emotions. I know that's harder to follow than it is to, like, it's easy to say that, right? But what I would suggest is start keeping track of your daily weight. You will see that your weight is going to go up and it's going to go down and it's going to go up and it's going to go down. It's like a heartbeat. And you just have to look at the trend over time. Do whatever plan you're on, do it for like 6 weeks. And then you have a trend to actually look back on and see, is this working? Like, literally, if you have lots of salt or sugar, or just hormonal things can cause it to shoot up. My average, like, every month, if you ever watched any of my progress reports, like, my weight fluctuates. I think this past month in October, the most it fluctuated within 1 week. So from my lowest weight during the week to my highest weight during the week. So that's like just the single day weight. That was like 6.2 pounds. Okay? You have to, like, my husband, who is at a fantastic weight, he's actually a skinny guy. His weight fluctuates by like 5 pounds. I should post that somewhere so that you guys can see. It's not just women. It's not just people trying to lose weight. Weight goes up and down and up and down and up and down, and you can't get upset over one high day. Okay. Let's see. Okay, Triple H, you asked when, so I hope that helps you, Sammy. Triple H, when you first started OMAD, did you count your calories at that meal? No. Sorry, I'm trying to, I can't see where my head is, so hopefully if you guys can see me, I don't know if anyone can, but, you said, Triple H, when you first started OMAD, did you count calories at that meal? So no. I counted calories in 2015. Let's see. So I lost about 20 pounds. And, well, I started counting calories. I've got it all in my book, like the actual breakdown. Now I can't remember when I started counting calories. But I got really obsessive really fast with counting. And I was miserable. And I was like, I felt so deprived. It drove me crazy, like logging the food and weighing the food and measuring the food. I mean, I got obsessive because it was like, at first I was just like, oh, I'm just gonna track my food intake. So I would log it, right? And then I was using like the Fitbit, like what it was telling me I was burning, and then I was trying to like have a really big deficit, and I was not losing at the rate I thought I should be losing at. So in 2015, I said, I'm never counting calories again. So I stopped. And I'm so glad that I did. I've never regretted it. Now, and then at that point, I was doing intermittent fasting, but I was not being consistent at all, really, with it. And then in January 2016, that's when I got very consistent with intermittent fasting. I went to OMAD at about in April of 2016. So yeah, I mean, really, I feel like with OMAD, you just really almost cannot eat too many calories. Like if you sit down and eat, and so like you don't give yourself like a whole window of time. You just say, I'm going to sit down here at the table and I'm going to eat until I'm full. I'm going to stand up and start fasting again until supper time the next day and do it OMAD that way. I really don't think you can get too many calories. I mean, that's been my experience. Now, I don't know, some people that might not be it, but I have a feeling that's kind of where it's at. Let's see, Teresa, I don't even own a scale. The only time I get weighed is if I go to the doctor. I like the way it works well for me. Yeah, and so Teresa, I think the thing with me is when I didn't weigh myself, because I didn't weigh myself, so 2014, that's when I really got serious about wanting to lose weight. I really was not happy with where I was, and I did not weigh. I just refused. I was like, I'm not going to weigh. I'm not going to be a slave to the scale. And that year, even though I was trying really hard, tried a lot of things that, like running 3 miles a day and trying to eat, higher protein, trying to eat lower carb, trying to just eat better. I just didn't make any progress at all. When I started weighing myself every day, I at least started making progress. And certainly when I got on a consistent plan and didn't change my plan anymore, that's when I really had the best results. So let's see. But I think if I think some people can be really good, like they can really drop weight maybe and not weigh. But it was a turning point for me. And I've noticed if I don't weigh, then I end up gaining the weight back. That's always been my pattern. When I'm weighing every day, right? I'm weighing. I'm either losing the weight or staying at the right weight. But usually what would happen is I got down to my goal weight and then I never weighed and the weight came right back on. So, let's see. Yeah, let's see here. Sherry. I went to throw my scale away, but I haven't yet. I think, again, you cannot let it rule your day. It's just a data collection tool. And it doesn't tell the whole story either. That should be pointed out. I should make sure I make that clear. For example, if you are currently lifting weights, like really heavy weights, and you are so what could be happening sometimes is that you are gaining muscle, or at least maybe what's happened is you've lost some fat, you've gained some muscle, and maybe it's just showing a plateau, but really if you look in the mirror, it's like, wow, well, I'm more happy with how I'm looking now. And various things can happen where it just doesn't show the whole picture, but I do think it's a good tool overall. It's hard to cheat it. It's easy to use. It takes like boom. Like if you try to measure yourself all the time, I found it's just like I can just not be very consistent with that. I measure in different places, and I just found too many ways to really not be honest with myself. Okay, Sherry, hang in there though. You're gonna find what works for you. Let's see, Jada. I found that tracking everything led to obsessive behaviors, which led to anxiety and depression, and then overeating. Yeah, it's so not worth it. And actually, one thing I did do was, I think when I was, yeah, I had been counting calories, and one of the things I did was when I stopped counting calories, or maybe before I had started counting calories. Maybe that's the measurement I used. I do remember I did this. Like, I compared, like, okay, how fast was I losing when I was tracking? And how fast was I losing when I was just saying, okay, try to stop when you're full? And the weight loss was the same for me, which showed me, like, I understand some people do fantastically with, like, tracking their stuff, and it does well. And I say, whatever works for you, go for it. But I think there are some of us where it's just like, I don't know, it might be like more of a personality thing, but I tend to kind of obsess. So, and like really obsess over the numbers. So, and I mean, it was the same exact thing, Jada. Like, so I got all obsessive and I got anxious, and it would just stress me out, and then I would want to overeat because it was like, I just felt deprived, right? So, Teresa, I do track my body measurements. I just found scales to be very fickle and fluctuate. Yeah. And I think, and plus, as long as you're happy with where you're at, like I say, if you're happy with where you're at, or you're just happy with whatever method you've chosen, like, saw somebody, I thought this was a neat idea. They took a piece of string, and they would measure themselves, and they would just cut the string wherever it was, so they're not even looking at numbers, right? And then they taped that string to the wall, and then they just did that, and so then they could see visually, like, okay, that string is getting shorter and shorter and shorter, which I thought was a really good idea. So if you're super 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 like nervous about even like just putting that tape around you, because I understand that too, just a piece of string, right? And you just say, okay, I can visually see that my stomach's getting smaller or whatever. Let's see. Hey, Awis, I think you bought my ebook. Oh, I just learned, and you learned so much. Oh, good, awesome. Thank you for buying it. Oh, good. So you've yes, personalizing your plan and don't obsess, and that is like so key. And I'm so glad that that's the takeaway that you had from it, because I really do think that's the key, is for every person to do their plan, take complete ownership of your plan, and then just stick with it over time, and just record your results. So I'm excited for you. Thank you so much for telling me that. And don't obsess. Yeah, just like slow and steady results over time. You'll be great. Okay, Michelle, the holidays are coming and you're always stressed about it. Any coping techniques to keep motivated and stay consistent with all the stress and yummy foods to eat? Okay, so for holidays, what I will be doing, and this is my plan, generally speaking. I enjoy them. And for Christmas, I enjoy the heck out of them. Like, I am going to be cooking and baking with my kids, and we're going to be watching Christmas movies, and we're going to go look at Christmas lights, and we'll probably go get ice cream more often than usual, and it's just a time to really enjoy. And I don't worry about it. I always go into December with this mindset. I'm probably going to gain some weight. Like, I do. And that's okay, because here's the way I look at it. I'm going to continue to weigh every single day. I'm going to do my plan. Like, so for me right now, I'm just trying to maintain, but probably more than likely the vast majority of the time, I'm just going to do OMAD. I might do OMAD with like snacks after the kids are in bed or something, but I'm just going to enjoy it. And if I weigh every day, then the weight isn't going to go crazy, right? Because I know where I'm at. So, it's going to be okay. And I would just rather enjoy the holidays, like really enjoy it. And because here's the thing, there's always going to be like, time to lose, like let's say you gain 5 pounds, right? Okay, well, you'll probably lose that weight within, I don't know, 5 weeks. If, like I would lose, when I needed to really lose the weight, I would, lose about a pound a week. So, and my kids aren't going to be little forever. And when my kids are older, I probably can be a lot stricter during September and all that stuff. But right now I've got little kids and I'm going to totally have fun. So, but then, so here's what I do. So I am as consistent as possible when I can be. So what I mean by that is, like, if there's a day where we don't have anything planned, like it's not going to be a treat baking day and it's not going to be a movie night, then I am on plan 100%, right? But on those days where I am off plan, like, okay, we're going to bake cookies today. Okay, I'm off plan today. I'm going to eat the cookie dough, and it's intentional. I'm going to eat the cookie dough, and we're going to lick the bowl together, and it's going to be all those fun things, and we're going to watch movies and all that, and I'm going to enjoy it, and I'm not going to feel guilty, and just enjoying. So life is about living. That's basically. Oh no, Enid, you can't see me. Okay. Oh man, and some people can hear me but not see me. Oh, and I'm frozen. I'm so sorry, you guys. Let's see, Triple H. I really haven't lost any weight yet on the scale, but I'm trying to be patient. Stopped keto end of September and started non-keto OMAD right away. So I'm sure my body is transitioning, right? Yeah, I think so. Let's see. So stop keto end of September, started non-keto OMAD. Yeah, my understanding is with keto, like, so if you've been on keto and then you go back to eating carbs, you're going to have some water weight, and that's just, and then a lot of people say, with keto, you have that first huge weight drop you have is really more water weight than it is. I don't know. I don't do keto, but yeah, I would say your body's transitioning, so just give it time. Let's see, Crafty. I don't have extended family nearby, nor do we get invited to parties, so I'll be too busy to cheat on Thanksgiving and Christmas. Yeah, and so that's good too. That you got a plan, right? And right. So to reemphasize, so I don't take the entire month off. I only take those days off that are necessary. Some months, or some years that has been a lot more than other years. Like some years we're invited to a bunch of things, and then other times we're not. So let's see. Anyways, before I would take as gospel truth the things that I've read say Atkins or keto, but then it can't stand the test of longevity. Yeah, and I think that's good to realize, like, what can I stick with? Like, really being honest with yourself and saying, what can I stick with for the long haul? Years, right? If necessary, because even when you lose down, right? Like even when you get down to your goal weight, you're gonna have to maintain. You got to figure that piece out too, and that I think it goes back to do it now. Like whatever you're doing, make sure you can do it for forever if necessary. Like I feel like OMAD, yeah, I could, I could do that every day if I wanted to, but. I mean, keto I think is great for some people, but it's not great for everybody. It's not great for me. I'm just not going to be a keto person. I think if you love it, great, have to it, but not everybody's cut out for keto, I think. Let's see. So you go overboard on cheat day, so I'm probably going to stop taking a cheat day every week. Well, so, Enid, I would say keep taking the cheat day and just look at it as practice. Like, try to get a little bit better on your cheat day. Like, are you stress eating during that time? I wonder. It's difficult to constantly prepare your own food as life takes over. Yeah. Plus, carby food is always regularly available. Learn to loosen up, except that there will be off days. So true. Like, carby foods, and I just, like, my family's on a budget. So, that's another consideration for sure. Yeah, and Darlene, I think that's great. Like, and not letting yourself stress out about it. It's it's so important to continue enjoying life, because if you make the holidays pretty miserable, like if you just say I'm going to be perfect on the holidays, you're probably setting yourself up for failure, because when you get to that holiday party and everybody is enjoying those delicious cookies, right? Or whatever the thing is, and you're thinking, I'm not going to eat it, or it's not in my window, or whatever, and then you eat, then you're going to start beating yourself up. So, first of all, don't beat yourself up, but better to go in with a plan of intentionality. I'm going to eat, I'm going to enjoy, or whatever the thing is that your plan is. So, oh, and thank you, Jay, for being in here and moderating. Teresa, I have food allergies, so I've learned to eat something before I go to someone's for a meal. This also helps me eat less when they are. Yeah, that's a good point, too. Like, if you can really. Sometimes that works for me, sometimes it doesn't. Like, one thing I noticed is sometimes I would eat. I have a tendency, like I said before, like if I'm in a social situation, I tend to want to eat more just because I'm just an introvert, and so a lot of times I'm just like kind of eating just so I don't have to talk. So, but so sometimes that would backfire on me. Like I would eat before I went, and then I would end up eating a bunch while I was there. I was like, oh well, I should have just not eaten before. So that's usually what I do. So. Let's see. Anyway, Michelle, love your outlook. Oh, good. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, if I had said in like 2014, I'm gonna wait until I get my weight down to a normal thing, then I wouldn't have enjoyed all those Christmases. And even when you get down to, a weight you want to maintain at, if you're being too strict with yourself, you're gonna like the years keep ticking by, basically. So, okay. Sherry, yes. Do I have a flat stomach? Do you think it's possible eating anything we want? Well, I don't have a flat stomach. I've had 3 kids, and I think that's at least part of the reason. I've always carried weight in my stomach. I'm happy with my stomach, though. I have made peace with the fact that I don't have a washboard stomach, and I may never. I don't know. It's just not important to me, I guess. Yeah, like, it's just not important to me anymore. It used to be. It used to be something that I always like, like, why can't I have that flat stomach, like, look at the models, and I just realized, like, I don't care. Like, because for one thing, I know, like, even if I had a flat stomach, there are stretch marks, like, all over that thing. So it's going to be different, is my point. It will be different than the supermodels. So yeah, I just decided I'm happy with it. So, but I think but everybody's going to have a different attitude or a different kind of belief about it. Like some people, oh gosh, if they got like an ounce of fat on them, they think they're, like bodybuilders and stuff. Man, they're like super hardcore about their body fat percentages, and I'm just not. But I think whatever works for you. Like if you're like, I want a washboard stomach, then do that. Can you get there? But your question was, do I think people can get there? Maybe. I mean, I don't know. My guess would be this. It has less to do with the food types and probably more to do with just calorie restriction. That's my guess. Because I mean, there are vegans out there, so they're obviously doing very high carb stuff. And, when you really start to break stuff down, I kind of wonder, like, really, is a carb just a carb? And is a protein just protein and fat? I know that there's some differences there, but there's been some interesting, people kind of experiment. I can't think, like, Google the Twinkie diet and like the McDonald's diet and stuff like that. People can eat a whole lot of different things and improve their health markers, even with what we would consider as, junk food. So, I don't know. Basically, I say experiment on yourself and see. Okay, so let's see. Oh, I'm so glad you enjoy these videos. I enjoy doing them. I'm sorry we've had some technical difficulties. Michelle, you're sitting right at 200. You're hoping to get under before Thanksgiving. It's just a number. I know what that's like. I sat above 200 for like 5-6 months, I think. Yeah, 5 months. I think it was 6 months before I actually got under 200. so hard to be right there at it and to not get under. It caused me a lot of anxiety. Hang in there, stay with your plan. You're gonna get there, I promise. Just keep doing your plan. Be consistent. Enjoy the holidays, and then you'll get right back on plan. Okay. Crafty, Enid. Yeah. Oh, two C-sections. Okay. Well, all right. Well, thank you guys for joining me. Go join the Facebook group if you haven't already, and I will see you guys again next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. I'll see you guys.